Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commission Breath. Brandon Love here with Tom Moffat and our good buddy and partner, Ryan Wiley. Ryan was one of my first coaches jumping into the mortgage space, and I learned a ton from him. And it's great to come full circle and be collaborating on stuff with Tango now. In today's episode, we're going to pull back the curtain on a bunch of stuff we want to chat about: what's going on in the coaching space, what's going on with other brokerages, what's going on with Team Wiley, social media. We're going to kind of bob and weave through a bunch of different topic points, but we've got a master here to come along for the journey. So thanks for joining us, Ryan.
Hey, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure, man. I love seeing you guys' faces. Thanks for having me.
So, what's keeping you busy today, Ryan?
What is key? Oh, my goodness. Open-ended question.
I know the answer.
Yeah. Over the past 2, 3 years, I've really been focusing on just distilling down what I do every day. And right now it's in three things. And it's going to stay these three things for the foreseeable future. So we've got Strategy Hub, which co-founder with Jason Henneberry. Talk more about that later. That's a training platform. We have over 500 students in that right now, which we're jacked about because it's only been 1 year. It hasn't even been 1 year yet. Number two, with the VIP Club, that's our database marketing company I've had for probably 5, 6 years. Jason is partner with me on that as well. And we have, I think we're in the 700, 800 agent range. And that's monthly emails we send out on your behalf. And then number three is the most recent one, and that is Team Wiley. I have officially launched my own mortgage team, as you guys know, because it's under your brokerage. Go figure.
We're very happy you decided to make us your home.
I'm happy too. Yeah.
We're excited to see the things you've got cooking because it's definitely a unique model compared to what the Canadian broker space is used to. And I'm just curious, like you've had all of these ventures after brokering, you've got Strategy Hub, you got VIP Club, mostly coaching based. Like what made you veer into the team based aspect side of things?
Well, I wanted to solve two problems. One was a problem for me, and one was a problem for other brokers. Talked to a lot of brokers, and over the years, what's the number one problem at your brokerage? I ask that question all the time. And you get some of the typical answers like, I don't get access to lenders or this or that. And those are one offs here and there. But the biggest problem, the biggest answer I get, the most common answer I get is, Ryan, I don't know how to get from 10 million to 20 million. I don't know how to get from 15 to 30. Or I'm at 50, but I'm working 70 hours. How do I pull back my time? There's no one at the brokerage that can help me with that. And so they might have a mentor there, but that mentor can only go so deep because typically the mentors or the team leads or the broker owners running their own book of business. So they're a competing broker and they're being pulled in 18 million directions. And they might not even have the skill set to articulate to you how to get in the day to day from 10 million to 25 million. Whereas for the past couple of years, that's all I've been doing. I've been coaching hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brokers on how to do that. So I'm sitting here going, geez, I can solve that problem. Part two of that was the problem. It's that. And then I don't think I'm getting enough value for my split. And that's a combo of your split to the house. So if you're 80-20, 20 goes to the house, what am I getting for my 20 points? And then also the monthly fee. I'm paying this monthly fee, this advertising fee. I don't really know what I get from that. I'm not sure. Is it a desk fee? I'm really not entirely sure. So there's not enough value, perceived value from the agent, and they don't have the hand holding or mentorship to know how to grow their business. So those two problems, I'm like, I can solve that. I can do that. I'm going to start my own team. And then the second problem I'm solving, which I said there was two. One was perceived value packaged with mentorship. I'm going to solve that. Part two was a me problem. Was I'm coaching people one on one, and people are paying me $500 an hour, and I have a lineup of people, and I coach them for 3 hours, and then they go off and they go fagazi. They just go. They go out there and they start doing their thing, and they may or may not come back. But if they would have come back 3 months later, then I can show them more. But sometimes life happens, you don't come back. And then maybe they go from 10 to 17 million. Well, who benefits from that long term? Long term, it's the broker owner who did nothing in that scenario outside of give them a place to hang their license and answer a phone call or a text once in a while or an email. And so I'm like, geez, I should benefit from that. If I'm going to show you how to go from 10 to 25 million, I want to benefit from that long term. And I can actually show you how to get even higher than that, because you're going to be forced in the nicest way possible to work and collaborate with me ongoing, which you'll want to, because it's part of the package deal. So by starting Team Wiley, it's something that does not exist in our industry. Nobody has this model. If you do, hit me up. I'd love to see what you're doing, but nobody does. Some people have training, but it's usually around underwriting. And even if you
Yeah.
have some sales training, I don't know how good it is, but even if you have sales training, no one's coming into your business one-on-one with mentoring, showing you what to do. Do this, do this, do this. I'm here. You're at the front of the line. So that's the model there. It's something we're trying, experimenting. I know it's going to work. This is a 10, 15, 20-year play. This will work, and it will disrupt a little bit of what's going on there. I'm in a unique position where I can actually deliver all of that and
Yeah, you don't
partnering
have
with
your own
you
book of
guys.
business.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
and at the end of the day, sales and marketing is everything. Like without it, you don't have the leads coming in. You're not closing any loans. So I see that gap in the industry as well. Like you alluded to the fact that a lot of broker owners and team leads, they might be successful in their business because they've been around for 15, 20 years. They have their own book of business with their past clients. The leads just kind of flow in for them. They close it when they come in. They haven't prospected in years. So that side of the business is really missing from that aspect.
or you have someone signed up to your team or your brokerage or whatever because they came there thinking they were going to get all this glorious support. And then little did they know that the broker owner's running their book. And then you're like, oh, I thought you were going to be around. I'll help you package a deal here and there. Yeah, but how do I get business? Oh,
Right.
yeah, no, just talk to people. Just talk to people. And that's a common theme. And so there's a lot of people at brokerages in bad scenarios that are being let down in that scenario. They're coming in with unrealistic expectations because it was set astronomically high and the team lead was never going to be able to deliver. Or you have broker owners who are great and they're great people. They're all great people. Most of them are good people. They're not doing it on purpose. They have to run their life. But you come in and then they go, oh, don't worry, I'll take care of you. And then they bring in a mentor. They bring in a mentor. I like the air quotes today. That will, oh, they're going to add 10 basis points or 5 basis points. We're going to take that off and they're going to mentor you. The mentor doesn't know what they're doing half the time. They don't even have their own book of business that they're running. And they don't know what they're doing. They're not qualified. They might be qualified to package a deal, send to
Yeah.
a lender, but I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about lead gen, sales, marketing, soft sales skills, like building out your process and systems, helping build a team. I'm not talking about lender guidelines and packaging deals. You can hire people to do that. Talk about all the other stuff. So it's this janky thing that's built up with a lot of agents running around in the industry, not having a clue how to build their business. And so I want to solve that for a select few.
Yeah, that's the thing I found is a lot of people are just kind of nomadic, wandering, kind of lost out there in the industry. And the thing I like about your model is, obviously you're taking a split from people because you're providing this value to them. But on the brokerage side of things, once you bring someone from 10 to 20 million, their split changes within the brokerage and they actually make that money back up again by getting a better split going that way. So effectively, you're creating value for yourself and them at the same time. And it works out to be, as long as they follow the plan, it's effectively no cost to them.
Bingo. Yeah. You win, I win. You come in, we take 3 steps back to take 10 forward. We'll get you up to, as you pointed out, some people are going to come in on an 85-15 split because of where they're at in the tier. So with our coaching and mentoring, they're going to move up and now they might be a 90-10, and that 5 basis point difference, I'm taking care of. So you're essentially free rolling it, as they call. You're playing with the house's money after that. And then you get me and my team in your corner for the rest of your career. So yeah,
Yeah,
great way to put it, man. I never actually thought about it that angle. So I like that.
there's your new twist for you.
Yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
knew her.
You will be seeing that.
She's writing down the book as we speak.
Yeah. Yeah. Love it.
So, okay, let's go to the side of like the agents. Maybe we can talk about your agents that you have on your team. What's the main focus for them? Obviously, it might differ for each agent, but the general consensus, like what's the main focus for them to get more leads today? What are you focusing on for them?
Yep. So there's a couple core foundations you need built in your mortgage business, and you're not going to get them all built right away, but we look under the hood as soon as you join the team, and we want to identify where the holes in the boat are, right? You've got your client journey. Everyone needs a really good client journey. So you know what you're doing in a file. The client knows what they're doing. So that's one thing we're going to help you build out over time. Your email marketing plan. 95% of brokers absolutely suck at this and they're missing out on massive opportunities. And so we're going to help you build an email marketing plan. Building your brand on social media, we're going to help you with that as well, with consistent content and putting best practices into place. Crushing your discovery call, learning that what to say. Just because you get 10 leads doesn't mean you're going to close any of them. So how do you stand out from the bank? We're going to put some advanced mortgage strategies in front of you and coach you up on those so you're not competing on price and product. But the first thing out of the gate that we're going to do is we're going to track your time. And we're going to go, what are your daily non-negotiables? What are the daily things you do that no matter how busy you get, you're working 12 files, which very rarely people are. You're working 12 files. What's that half hour, 45 minutes? What is the lifeline of your business, the daily habits you put in there? And so we map those out for people. We go, do this, do this, do this. And we literally whiteboard it out. And it's specific for each person because each
It's like
person
one
has a
on one.
different, yeah, they have like, they're more inclined, they have more referral partners that are more entrenched with. Some need more referral partners. Some need to build a
Right.
better relationship with the current people who send in those 1-2 straggler deals every year. And so what do we do there? And then some people are just getting started on social. Some people have content already. Well, how do we leverage that in the relationships you build? So we put together, that's the first thing we do. It's a one-on-one call with me. And we build out the daily non-negotiable list that's custom built for you and your business.
Yeah.
You're speaking our language, man. We've been speaking about that a lot lately, and we're lucky, we're fortunate enough that we're always spitballing ideas and bouncing off each other. And we have each other as accountability partner, but not everyone has that. And that's the key element that's missing right now. I didn't realize you guys went that deep in the fact that you'll go through their actual referral partners. And like, obviously, you're just giving one example, but you're seeing how many leads each partner has sent and where their main lead source is. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of people are trying to get these new referral partners out there and where you have people who are already sending you business. And so let's call it 10 agents and maybe two of them are sending you majority of their business. Well, I was talking to a broker a couple of weeks ago and he's like, I lost my top referral partner, 7 deals she sent me last year. I'm like, why? It's like, I called her and asked why. And she's like, you stopped reaching out to me to go for coffee. We never talked anymore. So I found someone else. And he's like, but I closed every deal. She's like, yeah, but I found another person who can close every deal. So the relationship part was missed. And so you've got these realtors, let's call them realtors for now, realtors around you that send you a lot of business. Well, we need to build a fence around them with a VIP plan. So what is our plan? So I have a 7-point plan. And it's like, let's put this in motion just for the VIP. And then we have some people that send us one lead a month, one lead every 2 months. Do they have the capability to send us more? Do they do enough volume that they can send us more? If the answer is yes, and we give you ways to figure that out, if the answer is yes, then let's add them into our VIP plan for our referral partners. And let's put them into those 3, 4, 5, 7 things we do to nurture the current realtors. Before we go prospect new people, let's take care of the ones that already love us. It's like, let's go around to our family members before we start telling strangers we love them, and let's make sure they're taken care of.
I feel like we made that mistake too. I know I did in my book
I
last
did
year,
too, for sure.
where I tried to go and get a bunch of new partners. I had a few really good ones and then they kind of fell off. It was because I wasn't taking them for drinks. I wasn't doing all the steps because I was moving, trying to get more, and then trying to do other things in the business. And I kind of forgot the hand that was feeding my family. And then this year I became really aware of it. I got like super deep with a few people and my life is so much easier now. I just have a few partners that send me all of their deals, everything funds, and it's like actually enjoyable to work with them. And it's a radically different experience working this year.
That's a good point, man. And that's why a lot of brokers, the ones that shit on I don't want to work with realtors. It's like, you're working with the wrong
The
ones.
wrong ones.
Because when
Yeah.
you find the great ones, it's spectacular. You end up becoming good friends with them. Your families meet, you support their business and vice versa. There's a lot of really good synergy, a lot of good business ideas, a lot of good stuff comes from it. It's just you've been working with the wrong realtors.
Yeah,
Sure.
I've been thinking about that a lot lately too, and I think the upfront work too, and not just taking on any meeting with any realtor is something you should consider too. Like I was taking on meetings with every realtor I could find just so I can build up this huge list similar to Brandon. And I think if I could go back and I wanted to build up my list again, I would probably do some upfront research and see if that person actually produces and use my time more wiser and rather go a mile deep than a mile wide.
Quality over quantity, right? I'll give you guys two things to do for the listeners listening. Two things to do if you want to vet a realtor. There's lots of things you can do, but these are two things I do and I coach on doing. Is number one, you go make sure they have minimum 20 Google reviews, right? Realtors do less ends than mortgage brokers. So, like, if we have 50, it shows you're pretty decent. The equivalent's about 20 with a realtor. So, 20 of those. If they don't have a Google review page set up, I run for the hills. It tells me they're not serious about their business.
True.
And then once they have, I see the reviews, then I go check them online and I go check out their Instagram or their Facebook. And on Instagram, I'm looking and I'm seeing how consistent, A, does it look like you have your shit together? Does it look like you're serious about your brand? You're putting energy into it. And then how often are you posting and are you making videos? Are you just doing postcards and thinking that's social media, or are you making videos? And I want to see that you're consistently putting videos out there. And if I have that and you're doing stories, you're doing all that, now I go, okay, I know you're doing volume. I know you're doing it. You're serious. You're going to appreciate the way I'm going to prospect you, the consistent way I'm going to prospect you with custom videos, reaching out through social. They'll have like a mutual respect there. And I just know. So those are the two simple things that you can whittle that list down to.
I like that filter. And I think it's good to kind of like the idea of sharpening the axe for longer than it takes to chop down the tree. I think a lot of the times people are like, it's so hard to get a meeting. I'm just going to take all these meetings. And if you're brand spanking new, sure, do the 150 meetings because you're going to get so good at your pitch. But once you're good at your pitch, you got to pivot and go towards finding the quality.
Find the quality. And another thing brokers miss out on is they forget this isn't a forever thing. You only need to find 5 rock stars. Like once you have your rock stars, then you lock them into your VIP plan where you're just taking care of them with all the things you're doing. And then you're done. You don't have to prospect realtors. And if your social's good and decent, realtors will start coming to you and you could sort of sift through and filter them out and choose if you want to take someone else on. So this is only a moment in time plan.
So if you were to go back on day one, Ryan, would you focus on realtors or would you focus on social first?
Realtors, without a doubt. Instant offense, quickest way to, I'm going to leverage their trust they've already built in other databases, in their database, in their client base, their marketing dollars, their hours, kissing babies, shaking hands. I want to leverage that. So now all I need to do is I don't even have to be a really good mortgage broker. All I have to do is be really good at relationships. And so now my focus is not knowing all these things I need to know as a broker. It's how do I get that realtor to like me and want to trust me and send me a lead. That's where my focus goes to building relationships with realtors. And then behind the scenes, I'm sharpening my axe, as you say, and I'm getting better at being a mortgage broker, but I'm not trying to be a mortgage broker, a really good one, and then go prospect. I'm going to focus on relationships. So I would do both at the same time, but first and foremost, I would prospect realtors.
Gotcha. You wouldn't say, okay, you know what? I'm just going to maybe put the social on hold, just focus on realtors, get to maybe a certain volume or a certain handful of core realtors, then start social. You're saying you would do it alongside that and go all in on both?
Yeah, I've got time. You're telling me I just started. What else am I doing? Like,
True.
what's my day
Yeah.
look like? Right. I'm going to do a post, minimum 1 post a day. I'll do it on Facebook, Instagram, maybe LinkedIn. I'm not sure. I'll probably just start Facebook, Instagram. It's very cohesive there, easy to do. I'll do a couple stories a day. I'll pump that out consistently over and over and over again with show don't tell videos, just explaining what I'm doing in the day, showing how I'm helping people, stories over and over and over. And I'll prospect realtors behind the scenes as well with custom videos through DM. And that model there, like, there's no way that model doesn't work. There's no way. I'm seeing it work right now with agents who are 1 year in the game, going to close 25 million in their first year. And that's what they're doing.
Yeah, I think as long as you're consistent, you can get to that 10 to 25 million out the gates. It's not rocket science. You just have to stick to the plan. And the problem is that people do 2 months of the plan, and then they're like, "Oh, fuck, I don't feel like doing the plan today." And then it kind of gets a bad habit. It falls apart. And 3 months later, they're like, okay, I'm going to stick to the plan now. And it's kind of like going to the gym or anything like that. If you're not consistent with it, you never hold on to the results. You might see it for a glimmer. Guy might look good on the beach, but in the middle of the winter, beer belly is probably back again. That's just the reality of life if you're not consistent with it.
Yeah, you got it, man. We all know this too, right? It's not like we're coming up with crazy things. It's we just
Yeah.
have to be reminded, and we all know. So you asked me what I do. That's what I do, man. And I just get used to rejection, and I would just make sure I understand my why. That's powerful enough
Mhm.
to push through.
So obviously, we're throwing out a lot of ideas of what people should be doing, and there's no shortage of people telling you what to do in this space. I don't know. Everyone here has probably noticed that there's a ton of different coaching options that's popped up with different courses, different offerings. What are you kind of seeing in this space that's quality? What are you seeing that's maybe a little bit more fluffy? Why are you seeing this mass influx of people starting to offer coaching?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's funny when volumes dip down, everyone
I
thinks
know.
they're a coach, right? It's like there are phenomenal coaches in the industry, but there's also a lot of right, and whatever. I'm not here to go, hey, they're not good and they're good, but it is just interesting when volumes go down, instead of focusing on how to get more business in your own book, you go, I'm going to teach other people. It's like, well, it's that old thing. Like, if the leads are that good, why don't you just work them yourself? Why are you selling them? Right. It's kind of that same thing. It's interesting. So, obviously, Scott Peckford exited the coaching industry, phenomenal coach. When it started Bricks, he's building that. And I believe he's coming back in. I knew a matter of time, and he should. He's good for the industry. We're better off with him in it. Jim Terlucas is coming in. He's always been there, right? I did some things with him, and he's coming in. I think him and Scott are doing stuff, which is great. He's phenomenal. You can learn from him. He's like that old school guy, got it down, the words,
Yeah.
how to crush the discovery call, how to find, sniper rifle into your database type stuff. Social media, over here. It's him. They're like oil and water, right? So that's like, I'd love to have an open debate with Jim on that about the merits of social media, running a business versus what he's doing. He's got a very unique model, but he's a phenomenal coach. I've seen his training. It was part of what I was doing at one point. He's great. You've got Dustin Woodhouse. I don't know what he's doing. I think he's either going to go brokering. I think he's coaching, maybe not coaching, maybe more of a platform, speaking on stages and stuff like that, because I know that's really up his alley and he's really good at it. Not sure exactly what he's doing there, but all that is good. Everybody in the industry, and it's a very small industry, having those guys in there, they need to be in there because agents have, I want you to have all these options. I need you to have different voices, different to go learn from and different things. And it's all part of the journey of you becoming an awesome mortgage agent and making money for your family. Outside of that, I know there's some one-off stuff going on. Nothing I would actually say is worth doing, but all that stuff there. And then you've got like the underwriting coaching and whatnot. And you've got Jill Mollering who does that, the mortgage nerd with Newbie Group, and she's really good. She has more in her brain on underwriting than a lot of us combined. She's great. Her coaching's always going to be there. I think it's an exciting time. We were there. Things kind of dwindled down a little bit, and now we're coming back where there's people coming out. I think it's an exciting time, and I'm super excited to see what everyone's doing.
Yeah, I think it's good to have the variety there because everyone has their own little niche and their expertise in certain things. Like you talked about with Jim and the old school approach and that versus social. Like I think it's good to have all these different options. But I do agree you see all these other ones that pop up for a couple months at a time. You're like, I wonder why this is like happening right now when everything is very quiet in the mortgage industry. Like that's just the first thought that comes to my head. Maybe they're slow in their own book. And so they're thinking of how can I make more money this way? So it's funny you thought that too.
Everyone wants like the residual income coming in. I have a course now, which is cool. I get it. I can respect someone trying things. And then, you've got schools with Hermosi coming out. And so a lot of people think they can go build this community of people that are going to pay them
I think
money.
it's easy. Yeah.
It's not easy. We have a community of over 500 people in it that each of them are paying us monthly. It's a lot of freaking work and you have to continuously deliver. It's a lot. And so I just sort of laugh and go, I hope you make it because I'm all about supporting entrepreneurs, but it's way harder than you think it is to
Yeah.
do. So,
And we found too that like we've been guilty of this ourselves where we tried doing Leadvine and doing different programs outside of doing our own book. And we thought our book will keep humming along at the same time. But the reality was it actually doing that shit really hurt our book for a couple months to the point where we were like, shit, we got to kill this thing
Yeah.
now before it goes too far and we end up killing our golden egg trying to get something new rolling.
And ignore your referral partners that were putting food on the table, like you referenced earlier, right?
Exactly.
Because you're like, ooh, like your highest and best use of your time, if you're an agent, is without a doubt in your own book. Without a doubt.
Yep.
There's no argument you could give me there. It is. But if you want to scratch an itch and do something off the side of your desk, sure. But call it what it is. If you're a broker owner or if you're a team lead and you're running a book of business, I've talked to a lot of team leads like this. If I could go back in time, they said I would scrap the team model, but I
Yeah.
can't because I don't want to let people down. But I work double the hours and make half the money. That's true. Double the hours and make half the money with running a team. And the same thing with running a course off the side. Here's what happened. A lot of people watch Scott Peckford build from Island B and his podcast and the Facebook group, and he did courses and he did a lot of this stuff. And he makes it look easy, right? He has a special talent, right? He's very good at that. He's very good at the marketing. He's very good, like he's built platforms. He's very good at that. And I think a lot of people have, because I know I could list off a name of people, I'm not going to, but have dipped their toe in and tried it. And then they're like, oh shit, no one showed up, or that was hard, or I can't deliver, or, oh, I got to do that again tomorrow. Yeah. So Scott was the first guy. He was the trailblazer in there. He was so good at it. He made it look so easy. And then I've been in there and now I'm learning it, and I learned some things from him and I taught him some things. And I'm like, yeah, I already know it's not easy, but it's an all in thing, which is why I'm all in. And I have been for a while.
Yeah, and you're kind of a unique case where you exited like your personal book at its peak. Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you were just over 100 mil at the time of exiting personal brokering. Like,
Yeah, 90 mil, 90 mil. Yeah.
so what was the reasoning behind you wanting to make that shift when you were making the most money ever at that point?
It quite easy. I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. And so I wanted to get out 3 years before that. And my wife could see I was very unhappy, very stressful. And it's being a broker is stressful, right? It is stressful, right? Especially at that volume, and you're pumping 180 deals a year, and really stressful, even though I had fulfillment, which was fine. And she was fulfillment. But she said, just for 3 years, can you buckle down? Because I had a lot of ventures. I did a lot of things, from client caller to I had some mini little coaching course stuff, to ran an Amazon store, to running a Facebook ad agency. Like I had all these things. Like I was trying to get out of the broker space. And she's like, Ryan, you're so good at it. Your clients love you. Can you just commit for 3 years, make a bunch of money for the family, and then go do what makes you happy? And I was like, deal. And I shut down everything else. And the only thing I kept going, which was 5 years ago, or the only thing I started, was my podcast. So that scratched the itch for me. Was one day I just started a podcast, me driving around a vehicle. 5 years ago, I started that. At the same time, I started a Facebook group, but I didn't do anything with the Facebook group. I did nothing. I wish I did. It was a marketing Facebook group, but I did with the podcast. And here we are. I just relaunched the Facebook group, which it'll be a big marketing community for mortgage brokers in Canada. But yeah, that's what it was. And then it was easy for me to jump ship because it was part of my master plan to get out. And I know with every fiber in me, doing what I'm doing now, coaching, mentoring agents, and then having my own team, like I'm good. I feel like my cup is full. I wake up, I know who I'm serving. I know what I was put on this planet to do. I'm looking nothing but straight ahead, no side. I'm not getting diverted with any ideas. It's do. I just deflect. It's a very peaceful feeling to have. I'm at peace with a lot of things. It's really cool. I'm there. And the team Wiley was the final piece of the puzzle.
That's awesome. I love that because so many times you see people who get to, that volume and all of a sudden the golden handcuffs are on and they're like, oh, I'm going to do another 3 years. I'm going to add another 3 years after that. And it's just, they end up hating their life and never find that next fulfilling step because the money's so good. So it's quite impressive that you're actually willing to just wash your hands, leave that on the table and go to the next thing. So kudos to you for that.
Well, that's the nice part about this industry. Like, you don't have to be in it forever. You can literally, get whatever the number is that you want. Like Brandon and I, we actually are on our own personal financial independence journey where we want to just make a shit ton of money. and not necessarily retire, but know that we can, if we ever wanted to, pivot from our own personal book of business. And I think that's the cool part about this industry is you can make as much money as you want. You don't have to be here for a 30-year career. You can crush it in 10 years, make your money, and then decide to do something else.
Bingo. And so, yep. And for the record, I went from $1 million in earnings that year down to 150.
Damn.
Right. And a
Yeah.
lot of people are like, what? And so if that doesn't tell you how committed I am, I don't know what else does, man. I don't know.
I'm assuming you're not there at this point though, but kudos to you for that's a huge draw, man. That's 10% of what you're earning.
Yep, it was. But I knew I had to take 15 steps back. But even more than that was my own mental health, how I was showing up for my wife and my kids, my own personal health. When I was going through that point where I'm crushing all those out, A, my fitness wasn't on point. B, my nutrition, I was drinking more than I probably should have. Having wine every night and kind of rationalizing it with it's wine time and blah, blah, blah. And then short temper with my kids, not being as present as I should be, not being there for my wife. And she's my best friend and just stuff like that. And when I got that off and I got direction on what my purpose is and who I serve, it was like, ah. And now it's like everything for me is freaking dialed in. I am good to go.
Do
So,
you think there's a way, obviously you can reduce the amount of stress you have as a broker, but do you think there's a way where you can essentially take yourself out of the day-to-day files and have your team of you have your underwriter, fulfillment, client care specialist, however you want to structure your team. Do you think there's a way to do that or do you think you're always going to be dragged into the files?
that's a good question. I think there's a couple ways you can play that. Obviously, if you're a one man band or one woman band, you need fulfillment. Like, come on, like down payment docs, you don't become a better person grinding through down payment docs. Like, you don't come out of that going like skipping down the road like you're on the yellow brick road. Do off to see the wizard. You're not doing that. Like, it just beats you down doing that stuff. So you need fulfillment. And then when you have that, that was when I was able to go from like 20 to 50 million. It was because of fulfillment. And that's where the 12-hour broker came from. So I was working 12 hours a week doing that type of volume because I had help. So I could have just pressed pause there. I could have said this was great. And that was very not stressful. But I decided to churn my book more. And also, COVID was coming in and rates are going down. And so, where we were at in the environment, my volumes just spiked. But if I could go back, it would be the 40, 50 million, 12 hours a week, one fulfillment, dialed in with a webinar, dialed in with email marketing. I would have to be dialed in with social and I would just be talking about things all the time. But I'd be at 12 hours a week and I would only have to put out so many fires. I'd only have to put out one or two fires, three fires a month, as opposed to, right? So it was all relative. My stress levels were relative to the volume. Could I get another person in to manage? Sure. But I know brokers who have done that. I know brokers who had my model, went to 200 million, 100 million. Now they have a team of 4 or 5, and now they have different stress levels. It's not the file they're putting out fires, that is hiring someone, trusting them, training them, coaching them, and then still mentoring them, and then putting out their own fires. And now you're an HR specialist. So the stress is always going to be there. It's just which stress do you want? Right? Do you want the COF stress and the client freaking out and the lawyer going, we don't have funds on the day of closing and what's going on stress? Or do you want the stress of hiring and firing people and dealing with all that and running and like building a business?
I mean, if I had to pick, I'd go with option 2, but if I had to pick, I'd go with neither, but I do get what you're saying. I think, like, there's that kind of happy volume that you can hit and just kind of have, like, that luxury lifestyle around having enough income coming in from the files you're closing too. I think the hardest part is trying to find that and dialing in your client journey to make sure you can get there.
Yep. Yep. Different answer for everyone too.
For sure. And I think there's also a sweet spot where, you get to 100 to 200 million, you add all these people. By the time you're all said and done with salaries and all that jazz, it might actually be the same amount of money that's left over. So then you have to identify, are you building this for the money side of it? Or are you building this for ego side? Like, what is the why for this? And I think a lot of the time that shines a light on actually where your priorities are.
Yeah, I know. It's interesting you say that because the number I gave you, that was net. That's what I netted out. And so on my last year, I know brokers who have teams of 4 or 5, and you think they're crushing it and their volumes are crushing it, but they're netting out 400 or 500K. And you might think that's great, but their volumes are like 130, 140, 150, and they're netting out. That's what I was netting out when I was doing 50 mil, running
Mm.
8 files a month with fulfillment, who takes majority of the work off my plate. I'm working 10, 12 hours a week, netting out 400 or 500K a year. That's a glorious thing versus you build a 120 empire and you back out all the stuff, even 100 mil. Like, yeah. So it's what you net. A lot of people live in the gross world, and we've been conditioned to tell people what we earn volume wise and blah, 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 pump our chests out. And what are you doing? And I'm at this volume. But it's like, dude, what are you netting out, man?
Yeah.
What are you netting out? Like, and what's your stress level? And just because you're earning that much, that your volume's there, or you're earning that much money, I'll tell you right now, you look about 60 pounds overweight, you don't seem happy, and like you're going through some shit at home with the family, but you're doing 100 million. Oh, good for you. Like, that's a quite the sacrifice,
Yeah. Yeah, you're gonna
right?
lose 50% of that additional gains when you get your divorce. So
Right. We all make choices. So I was very cognizant of that. And that's how I built my mall. And it was like, I'm not letting anything get into the fortress I have at home. And it was getting there. So I had to get out.
So we started off this episode talking about team structures, team leads, different aspects in the mortgage brokerage space. For our listeners, some people might be wondering if they're in a good setup or if they have a good team structure with where they're at. What are some things that you would say are like the most important line items that they should be looking at when it comes to joining a brokerage or moving to a new brokerage?
Well, geez, there's some very obvious ones. One is if you don't get access to your underwriters and BDMs, if you can't submit deals directly, there's a problem. There's a reason you don't have access to those people. It's probably because you're not being paid volume bonus. This is still happening, kids. Still happening, unfortunately.
Crazy.
I remember when I was, people told me, hey, Ryan, go start a team. And then people come in under their team and you do all this work and you get them on your team. And then they work for 75 basis finder's fee from Scotia. And guess what? You keep the volume bonus. It's your team. And they signed up for that. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I keep the volume bonus? Why? Well, because you're doing all the work. And I'm like, what work am I doing? They're the ones getting the deal, putting the deal in. I'm just maybe mentoring them. That's a mentality. There's a mentality, but don't let them talk to the BRM. I've had BRMs call when I had a team. It was a very small team, mind you, 1 or 2 agents. When I had a team, I had BDMs call me and go, hey, Ryan, I'm about to talk to this agent. Can I mention volume bonus? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, really? Are we still doing that? Yeah. So if you don't have access to your BDM, your underwriter, and you have Smith, that's like red flag 101. Red flag number one. Okay.
Yeah, we had one of those conversations like 2 weeks ago. Literally 2 weeks ago, when a BDM asked that same question. I'm like, "Yes, man. They can know the volume bonus." We
yeah,
we disclose it all.
another one is the scorecard, which I think, like, I know at Tango we divide up the Scotia scorecard between all the agents on the team. I think Bricks does as well, but I think that's one in particular that a lot of teams and brokerages keep to themselves just because of the admin side of trying to split all of it up.
I'm not opposed to you keeping the volume bonus. I'm not opposed to you keeping the efficiency bonus, but it has to be outlined up front and signed off on. And agents are coming into this with eyes wide open, knowing exactly in a moment where I go, what do you earn? What's your split? And forget that whole other 5% franchise thing on top that's kind of hidden in everywhere. What is your net split? What do you actually get that on? Like, you should be able to articulate that. If you can't on the spot, there's a problem. But at some point, it's your responsibility as your own business owner. It's not the brokerage, the team lead. They're running a business and you're just falling in line, right? What's status quo? Like, I have to go find out. It's crazy that we have to keep having that conversation, but I'll gladly do it. Hopefully, it's one person we save, right? And there's been a lot of broker owners earning a lot of money off the backs of agents in this industry for a long frickin' time. And they're not doing it on the up and up. and it's crazy. Or my favorite is this: you have a tiered system. This is a good one for everybody listening. You have a tiered system within your brokerage, which is very normal. Hey, I'm 75-25 because I do 5 million. When I get to 10 million, I'm 80-20, and so on and so on up the plan. The brokerage should be proactive and reaching out to you and going, congratulations, you made it. You've now on the next tier. But they don't. Majority of them don't. They sit there and wait for you to come months after, work up the courage to walk into the office or send the email or set up a call to then get on there and go, hey, I'm at volume, but right? It shouldn't be that way where you have to go and fight for the money you signed up for. It's crazy. So I would go check and make sure whatever your volume is, where does it fall in line on the tier? Right? You might have moved up a notch and not even realize it. I'd go and ask for your commissions like retroactive.
Yeah, like every pay period, we send all of the agents their year to date commissions, and it shows them exactly where they've got different sources from, volume, etc. So you can see exactly, okay, I've done $10 million, and then you're at your next level there. It's crystal clear that way. And I found this before. It probably drives Tom a little crazy, but I am very nitpicky on like tracking the basis points that come in, the books, doing all the spreadsheets, just because over the years I found so much money that would have been left on the table just from bonuses not being paid out or missed by maybe the lender or maybe the brokerage collected the money, couldn't quite figure out how to disperse it, so it just got ignored and life moved on. But by combing through the books there, I was always able to find money for us.
Yep. Reconcile. That should be something in your calendar once a month. You reconcile because just because you got paid X, I need to reverse engineer and make sure I got what I was supposed to get. So go into your submission platform, find out the beeps you're supposed to be paid, look at your pay stub, and it's either the lender paid the brokerage wrong or the brokerage got the money and then paid you wrong. It's no one's fault. Usually it's just human error
Mhm.
here or there. But this happened in over a 10-month period. I went back and looked and I was out over 30K. And I went back to the lender and majority of it was one lender. And I went back and said, hey, these are the files. And it took me, I remember it was a whole plane ride back from Toronto to Kelowna. So when me and my wife came out to Kelowna to test it out and check it out, on the way back, she's like, can you please just run? I think we're missing money. I said, okay, I'll do it. So on a 4.5 hour plane ride back, I reconciled all the stuff and I came up with $30,000. And so I wrote out the email. Guess what the lender's response was? My bad.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, cool. I don't know what I was expecting, to be honest, but I got paid, and then
Yeah.
all the trade records started to come in, like on that ledge, like scrolling through pages of stuff, and I was like, oh my god. And then some of it was the brokerage paid me wrong on some instances, so I had to go track that down. But if I don't do that, that's me. I have to do that, right? That's my
Yeah, it comes down to the agent. You do have to have some onus on it. But some of it is like it depends on the pay stub, as an example. Like the first brokerage I was with, the pay stub was not transparent as to like where the money flowed. You spoke of the network split before it gets to the actual team lead. And I had no idea I was being charged 5% on the house on top of everything before it got to my net split. I had no idea. I'm like, why is my net pay lower than what my actual split is? And it took me a while to figure out because I was a new agent. I had no idea until maybe like a year in. It was crazy. And it's still out there.
I didn't realize that either. And I was a producing agent. And I was like, the math's not adding up. We're off, not a lot, but we're off a little bit. And I was like, this is crazy that it's not articulated with my 5% plus tax off, clearly itemized on there. Like, where's that money going? I had to do all this gypsy math. And I was like, this shouldn't be this way. It's like 2020 something mortgage world. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just like, I just never felt my interests were being taken care of in that type of scenario. And I got to fight and claw and unravel and investigate and all that for that. I'm like, there's got to be an easier way. Why can't I just say everything? Like you said, I'll ask an agent. I'm talking to agents now all the time. Part of the conversation always gets to, what's your split? And they're like, 80-20, 90-10. Okay, cool. Is that before or after? And I'm like, let's pull up a pay stub. Let's look. Let's do the math. And they're like, oh my God, I've already found people. They're like, oh, I guess I'm 85-15, not 90-10. And I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, contraire. You're not 85-15. You're 84.35, 15.65 because it's 5% plus tax. So it's, but they didn't know that because it's not there. And they're going around telling everyone they're 90-10, or they're thinking they're 90-10, when really they're netting out less than 85-15.
Yeah, it's wild. And then you have the flip side too, and you have scenarios where there's a lot of really honest, transparent people who are paying out all these volume bonuses and stuff like that. I remember the first time I got a volume bonus, I messaged Scott. It was when I was at Bricks, and I was like, "Hey, man, like it's kind of awkward, but like you guys paid me too much. Like I'm just getting started, so I'm happy to take it, but like there's an error been made. I don't want to be that guy to never come clean about it." And he's like, "It's a volume bonus." I'm like, "What are you talking about? Like, what's a volume bonus?"
Efficiency. Oh, it was a volume bonus?
It was a volume bonus. Yeah, and I'm like, I have no
Island
idea.
B
Oh,
Mortgage Pros. That was Island B Mortgage Pros.
Yeah,
Remember?
yeah.
yeah,
Remember?
under
Yeah.
Tango.
Yeah. Funny how everything comes full circle. Oh, love it. So there you go. Those are a couple tidbits. There's obviously more, but we only got so many hours in the day. But those are some big ones.
Okay, so you obviously have a partnership with us through the Tango world, and that's tied back to your other partner, Jason Henneberry, who you're working with on VIP Club, Strategy Hub, and probably have some other stuff cooking as well. So why don't we chat a little bit about your partnership? Because Tom and I are big fans of forming these alliances in the industry that create like 1+1 = 3 scenarios.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't say enough, man. So everyone here, you're listening. If you don't know who Jason Henneberry is, you should. He created Lender Spotlight, phenomenal piece of software. He's a builder. He's an architect. He's an operator. He runs Tango Financial with Dean Larson, and 400 agents, 4 billion volume plus. No one ever leaves Tango, by the way, which is crazy. They just don't leave. And so you guys started a brokerage there, Tango Ontario. You're partnered with Dean and Jason. I'm bringing Team Wiley in under that brokerage in Ontario. Like I told you, I'm at peace right now. I've never been this aligned on everything in my life, and it's phenomenal. And a lot of it has to do with Henneberry. He is a guy I cold called and offered an opportunity to with VIP Club. And I'd been using his Doc Assist, one of his services before, but I didn't really know him. And I cold called him with an opportunity. And he jumped on it, and we became partners. And I quickly saw how he operated. And then I was sort of like, didn't know what I was going to do in the coaching space as much. And he had started a strategy hub, and he pitched an idea to me. And I was like, that actually checks a lot of the boxes. So then I came in and partnered with him in Strategy Hub. That was about a little less than a year ago. Became partners there. And now we've spent time together and traveled together and done all these things. And now Mortgage Team is inevitably coming under his brokerage and your guys' brokerage. And so, yeah, with him, I know what I'm getting. I love it. We have similar strengths, but we have other things we're good at. And he is an operator. He checks a lot of boxes. First and foremost, he's a family guy. I'm a family guy above everything else. And that's easy to say. It's very cliche, but I actually fulfill that. So does he. Moral compass is set right. He's wired the right way. He's been building phenomenal relationships in the industry for so many years. He plays the long game. I'll come to him with a thing. Hey, blah, 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 blah. What do we do? And he's like, we got this. It's calm. He's like, yeah, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. It's okay. And I'm like, oh, okay. Yeah, yeah. And so he puts me at ease and at peace with a lot of things there too. And I'm like, okay. And then he does what he says he's going to do. I've never met someone so busy where he's like, oh, yeah, I'll get that to you. I'm thinking that's like 3 days. And like 10 minutes later, I get an email with the thing he said. And I'm like, that's refreshing. Someone does what they say they're going to do. I'm like, that's cool. So on a lot of different levels. And then he's just like a good dude and we get along. He's wired the right way for me. And my wife loves him. He's stayed at our house. So it's all those things. So he's a phenomenal partner. Everything I'm doing from Team Wiley to Strategy Hub to VIP Club, we're all moving in the same direction. And that's what I want.
Yeah, isn't it crazy how it all sprung from one phone call? One phone call.
One phone call was my first phone call in the industry was to Scott Peckford to say, hey, I've got an idea to start a calling company. He's like, that's on my whiteboard right now. Let's do it. And I
Of
was like,
course it
okay.
is.
So we did it. We got investors. We pitched it. All of a sudden, we're traveling across Canada pitching it. And then we make a bunch of calls. And then I buy VIP Club. And then my next cold call like that is to Henneberry to partner with me on VIP because I don't know what I'm doing. And so It's funny. Those two, they lean into the next one. They came from cold calls, from me putting myself out there and going, hey, with an opportunity. It's just crazy how that works. So yeah, and now here we are, and I wouldn't be where I am without him. And you guys are partnered with him, so you see it firsthand. But yeah, he's awesome. So not enough good things to say about him. I could keep going, but I won't. It's a short podcast. But yeah, phenomenal, great business partner to have.
Yeah, we've noticed the same. It's funny you said the point of just getting things done so quickly because we had the same thought. We're like, how the fuck does this guy get so much shit
Yeah,
done in a day?
like a
In his
robot.
brain, he like
Yeah.
says it like on the phone with you. Yeah, I'll send that to you. And typically, if I'm on the phone with you, I said, yeah, I'll send that. I rethink about it later that night or the next morning, and they go, oh yeah, I'm going to do that. Nope, his thing comes in, and I'm like, whoa, that's a superpower.
Yeah, it is
That's
a
a
superpower for sure.
superpower.
Yeah.
So
Good stuff. Well, Ryan, thank you so much for coming on today. I know we touched on a lot of different points. So, a lot of the podcast, we like to do a little recap at the end. This one, there's quite a bit to recap. So, I'm just going to touch on some highlights that I had. Really, I loved seeing sort of how you transitioned and made that lifestyle design choice in your personal life to get out of the book of business and focus on what actually fulfilled you. And obviously, I love what you're doing with the team side and showing people what they're missing and how to get to that next level, finding the right partners, picking up the phone and getting those relationships out there. And then just appreciate you shining a light on some of the hidden nuances and mysteries in the space and sort of what gets tucked in the corners or hidden behind the curtain. So thank you for coming on and shining a light on those today.
yeah, you got it, man. I appreciate you having me. I have one last thing to say. If you are a mortgage agent, you have a team, a franchise, a brokerage, you want to start a team, doesn't matter. We have the best model going. But if you are one of those people and you don't think you're getting the value where you're at, you can't put your finger on the value you're getting, there's not enough transparency, or if you're stuck and you just don't know how to up your game, how to get from the next level for your mortgage business, or you're just curious, you're like, it's probably in my best interest to just hear what's going on over there, go check out IamRyanWiley.com or go to my link in my bio on Instagram and you'll see there'll be something up there by the time this is up. There'll be a webinar, 15, 20-minute webinar walking you through what Team Wiley is all about and if you even qualify. Okay. So that's all I got to say. And broker owners out there, you've been warned. It's time to up your frickin' game because I'm coming. I'm going to eat your lunch.
Up your fucking game, boys. Let's go. I love it. Love it. I'm fired up.
Let's go, man. Let's go. It's game time.